Hi, this is Jill from Simple Daily Recipes. I'm recording this from my van. Yep. The kids are inside a coffee shop doing one of their meetups, and this was my chance to get this video out to you in the quiet of my van. It's just me and you, baby, all alone. Alright, so let's dive into this recipe. Okay, this recipe is not my own. Half the time it never is. This one comes from the Thug Kitchen cookbook. I think it's just called Thug Kitchen. It's the one with the sweet potato, squash, and black beans, except I didn't have any squash, and so it's not quite the same. You know how it is. You gotta make do with what you have on hand, right? Am I right? Am I right? High five. Alright, let's get cooking. Okay, so I had a sweet potato about the size of my hand, and I cut it up and cubed it. Now, I went back and forth as to how I was going to cook this sweet potato, and I decided I would just steam it on the stovetop. For all of my iPop friends, I didn't want to mess with the iPop for just one sweet potato. Okay, and then while that was steaming for 10 minutes, I needed to make the enchilada sauce. So it starts out with a little over 2 cups of vegetable broth, a 1/3 cup of tomato paste, 2.5 tablespoons of chili powder. Now, I've already had someone ask me what they could use instead of chili powder, since their tummy is or since they're sensitive to chili powders and spicy foods, and my answer is I have no idea. But if you're someone who is sensitive to chili powder or sensitive to spicy foods, and you do know of an ingredient that is a good substitute, or you have a good way of getting around that, I would love your feedback in the comments below. Okay, so there was like 2 teaspoons of cumin, and there was some oregano, and 3 garlic cloves that were minced up. And here I've got 2 teaspoons of soy sauce. And we're just going to take that over to the stovetop and whisk that up and let that come to a simmer for about 10 minutes over medium heat, okay? And just let that, get all busy with itself. Make sure you whisk that really well to get that tomato paste, mixed in. No clumps. Not good. Okay, so even in that time of putting that enchilada sauce together, my water for my sweet potato has started boiling, so I set the timer for 10 minutes. Okay, so the sweet potatoes and the sauce are both going for 10 minutes, okay? Now, in a big old skillet, I want to water saute, this was like half of a large yellow onion. I started out with the dry pan because I wanted to try to get a little browning action going on, and then I finally just added a little water when things started to brown up. There's the sauce just simmering away, and you see at this point things have happened. I've got 1 minute left on the sweet potato, and I'm just standing there at the stove waiting for those onions, waiting for that timer. There goes the timer. I am moving and shaking. Got it going on, you know what I'm saying? I've got it all balanced out. Okay, I want to check my sweet potatoes because I wasn't really sure if 10 minutes was going to be long enough. If I had diced or cubed the sweet potato small enough to make that happen. But sure enough, look at that. Oh, yay, I did it. I got it right. Yay! Sometimes I don't. I know, your world just took a little shake right there, but sometimes I don't get it right. Sometimes I do. Don't. Okay, so at this point, all right, so good. My sweet potatoes are ready. My sauce should be ready. And my pan is getting a little dry. I've got a little burning going on. So I thought I'd do the brave thing, and I'd use the water from my sweet potatoes to pour into my skillet. Look, I didn't spill nothing. Oh my gosh, it's a miracle. I was sure that those sweet potatoes would just avalanche right out of that pan, but they didn't. Yay! Okay, so I'm just cleaning up the pan. The onions are almost ready. Oh, and I wanted you to see the enchilada sauce here. The enchilada sauce I was hoping would be thicker, but it's not. It's a pretty thin enchilada sauce here. So I wanted to be real honest with you that if you're expecting a thick enchilada sauce, it doesn't happen at this moment. It will happen and thicken up during the baking process, but here on the stovetop, it just remains thin. Okay, so I need a little more water on my onions. I was almost done. There were still a few pieces of onions that just weren't, they were being stubborn, and they didn't want to cook and be all see-through, so I had to stay there at the oven and get those done. So anyways, they finally got cooked up, and I could add some cumin and chili powder to those onions, and I cooked that spice there for about 30 seconds, and then next I just needed to add 1 can of black beans, whatever you got on hand. I just happen to have Bush's chili beans, black beans on hand, liquid and all. Now, I'll tell you right now, this meal will feed 3 people. It will feed 1 hungry man, 1 hungry teenager, and 1 really hungry woman who wishes that she was, you know, more, or wasn't so sweet to give her hungry husband and her hungry teen more enchiladas. Anyways, okay, so you saw me mash the black beans. Now I need to mash up the sweet potatoes. So I'd already drained off the water completely out of this pan, and I'm adding a teaspoon of maple syrup. And then with a fork, with a bent fork, that's how I do sometimes when I'm lazy, I just bend the fork and I started mashing the sweet potatoes. You don't have to get them all, you know, super smooth or anything. You just want to bust the cubes up. Excuse me, my smoothie's talking to me. And then, of course, I just bend the fork back. Nobody knows. Shh. Don't tell my kids or my husband that I do that, because I'll fuss at them. Okay, now with the sweet potato, I'm going to put it in with the mashed black beans and onions here, and then give that a good stir, and that's the filling for the enchiladas. Bam! That's so good. I cannot wait for y'all to try this one. So good. Now, one last thing on that enchilada sauce, you need to add 1 tablespoon of lime juice. Now, whether you have fresh on hand, you could definitely use that. I'm sure that the original recipe wanted me to use that, but it didn't specify. I always have lime and lemon juice concentrate in the fridge for me, because I can't keep citrus fresh all the time. All right, now, here's my tortillas. I've got those warmed up. I only had, I don't know, we'll count later. I only had a handful of tortillas tonight. I wish I had had more. Oh, because these were so good. Okay, so the next thing I'm supposed to do is just cover the bottom of the 9x13 casserole dish with the enchilada sauce. This is messy. This is the messiest meal I've made in a long time. Okay, and then here's the sweet potatoes and the black bean filling. And I went ahead and just filled these tortillas up. You know what I'm saying? I made that like fat. I wanted some fat enchiladas. I didn't have a lot of sides planned for this meal, so I said, you know what? I better make sure these enchiladas are fat and filling. So how many we got? 3, 4. Oh yeah, baby. I had more tortillas. I'm sorry, I had more filling than I had tortillas, which was a shame. I did just save I'll show you here in just a second. Got them all in there, and I'll show you. Here you go. You can see I still had enough for probably 2 more enchiladas, but I just didn't have the tortillas for it. So I ended up putting that in a container and put it in the fridge, and I plan to eat that for lunch today when I get home. I'm just going to make it like a nacho dip or something. Okay, and then with almost the rest of my enchilada sauce, I just started pouring it over my tortillas and trying to get those good and covered. But I didn't really want them drowning in enchilada sauce. I wanted to leave the ends of my tortillas exposed, because that's my favorite part when I'm baking tortillas in the oven. I like the crispy edges, so I left those open. Okay, so into a hot oven at 375 degrees. There they go. Go, baby. And I think I'm baking those up for 25 minutes. Now, the original recipe said to cover the casserole dish with aluminum foil, but I never have aluminum foil on hand, so I just take a baking sheet and turn it upside down and use it to cover my casserole dish. I know, I'm smart like that sometimes. All right, there's the finished product. Woohoo! Yeah, all right, moment of truth. Let's see how these stand up. Look at that. They held their shape. They didn't turn to mush. Yay! And the enchilada sauce on the sides of the casserole dish, it gets so thick. It's the thickness that I was expecting in the saucepan. Came out in the casserole dish. So don't give up there. Oh, I mean, that's awesome right there. And then cover that with fresh chopped cilantro. Now that's really good. Go heavy on the cilantro if you like cilantro, because it's really yummy. And that's just on the side there, that's just some purple cabbage and shredded carrots in a regular old in a regular vinegar, brown sugar, salt and pepper dressing. That's it. No big deal. It's just some leftover slaw we had. So here's the moment of truth. Max and I are taking a bite into these enchiladas, seeing if we like them or not.
No, I got my plate.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Hot. A little hot. It's burning my mouth.
I know mine sat out for just a minute or two ahead of you.
Look, I remember that. You just took a bite, and I'm like, That's delicious though.
I like that big chunky onion in there. How about you?
I didn't hear you big chunky onion.
You'll get some. This is good. There's sweet potato in it. Careful, don't spit it out. Take some more bites. This is really good. I'm making half a bite. The cilantro is good.
Only losers eat smaller bites.
Did you just call me a loser?